Ruben Amorim obviously has come in now and he's got the whole summer to try and reshape the squad and try and really put his philosophy into that team through pre-season. Do you see reasons to be optimistic now? Can you see the sort of start of something positive moving forward for United?
I think Ruben Amorim's got his way and his style of coaching, of his tactics, the way he wants to set up a team. And I think that, you know, we've seen he didn't want to come in at the time that he did. He wanted to be in at the start of the season. So it was going to be tough either way. You know, when you come in halfway through a season, you know, I'm sure any managers will say it's a tough ask. And you know, when you're joining the biggest club in the world, where they were at, it was going to be even harder. So, you know, I think it's been said that you're going to have to give him time. He needs time, and you know, he needs how many transfer windows? Who knows? But you know, you've got to, you know, set your marker, put a stamp down as soon as you start this season. I don't think that anyone can give him any more excuses. It's now or never, really, to be honest. That, you know, he's got to have a good pre-season with a team, work out what his team is, what his best team is, what players fit into the system, unless he's going to change the system. But you know, you can't see him changing the formation that he's been playing. So you know, it's going to be intriguing to see what happens after this pre-season.
We'll get back to Ashley Young in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And as ever, if something is on your mind, if something is bubbling up inside of you that you need to express, please express it in the comments. The Big D reads all of the comments, and he's always interested in what is on your mind. Anyway, in this little clip, Ashley Young is going to be talking about Ruben Amorim. He's going to be talking about how many transfer windows he may or may not need to get Man United challenging for titles again. And he's also talking about the status of Marcus Rashford and how well Scott McTominay is doing over there in Italy. Stick around for after the clip, because the Big D is going to be giving his thoughts on what Ashley Young had to say. Here he is.
Ashley, seems to be a change in approach with their transfer dealings. Matheus Cunha is in. Brian Mbeumo, they remain optimistic of doing a deal for him. One source claims it could come this week, another bid to match what Brentford want. We think they want around £65 million. But both of these players have got significant Premier League experience, which has kind of been not the case, shall we say, in some of United's previous signings. They've been signing players from leagues with players that haven't had experience in the Premier League. Do you think they are learning lessons now with the approach that they're taking in this window? I
think they've got to be learning lessons after the last few windows that have gone on and haven't been the most successful windows. You know, I think it's one of them where you need to bring in experienced players that know the league. Of course, you're going to bring in players that, you know, might not have played in the Premier League, and you know, they could do extremely well for the club. But you know, if you're going to go back to you know, I'll go back to the boss, and at times, you know, most of his signings that would have had Premier League experience, he would have looked and thought, are they going to gel into the squad? And you know, he went on a dossier to make sure he knew the players' families, friends, you know, their eating, sleeping habits. Like they knew everything. He was, like I say, a genius. He just knew what players would fit into a squad that were hungry, that wanted to work hard, and had the desire to be a winner. And you know, I think that was a massive, and that was a key to when the boss was signing players. So I think that, you know, it's a different approach from Manchester United, and I think that, you know, you've got to have a different approach to what's gone on in the past, and you know, hopefully see a significant change in what's been going on.
Yeah, so Cunha in, and Mbeumo likely to join if United can match what Brentford want. But it's likely that Marcus Rashford doesn't have a future at Manchester United. Barcelona really pushing to get a deal done. They've explored the conditions of a potential deal for Marcus Rashford. Manchester United now expecting an approach from Barcelona. Rashford clearly wants to go there, but Barcelona might not be able to do anything but a loan, and that can't be ruled out, even though Manchester United would prefer a permanent move for Rashford. Look, you've played with him over 100 times at Manchester United. What's your overriding emotion if it is to be the end of Marcus Rashford at Old Trafford?
I think that you've got to look at the last, especially last season, with the way that things have been. Like I've loved him since the day that he trained with the first team. He's a fantastic player, but I think you can't always just stay at Manchester United. There's got to be something that's got to happen. There's got to be a change. For him last season, he went to Aston Villa, and I think that he enjoyed his time there. You saw him; he had a smile on his face again, and he looked like he was enjoying his football. So. I think now he's going to have options, whether it's options that he wants or not. There's going to be places where teams want to take him. So, I hope that this is going to be a right move that he takes, and it's just about his football that he goes and gets on with, and shows his football that he goes people that the Marcus Rashford that we know that because like I say, he's a fantastic player, and he showed that in glimpses, and when he showed that to Aston Villa last season.
There seems to be another player whose days at Old Trafford are coming towards. That's Jadon Sancho. He's got just 1 year left on his current contract with a club option of another year. The latest is that Juventus still very much interested in him and are currently working on a potential deal. The other player that they are looking at is Porto's Francisco Conceição as well, and it's not been ruled out potentially that Juventus would do both players. We know that he's in that group of five that don't really fit in at Manchester United now, and it's expected that probably 4 of the 5 players would potentially leave. When you look at the turnover of players, realistically, how many windows do you think it will be before Manchester United can be what they were when you joined, challenging and winning Premier League titles?
I'm not sure how many windows it's going to take. Yeah, I was thinking, I don't know how many windows. It could be this one. It could be another one next summer. Who knows how many it's going to take? The less the better, of course. Like I say, they've got 5 players there that are good players, fantastic players that would be in other teams, be able to be playing. But obviously, there's a reason why Ruben Amorim is not playing them. And I think for them now, I'm sure they're sat there or they're speaking to their agents and just saying, please, just get me to a place where it's a club where I go and play football. Like as players, you just want to play football. I don't think they're going to just sit around and just wait and wait and wait. They want to be going to play football. So, hopefully for the club and for themselves that they get something sorted so they go and play football.
Now, we started the show by talking about all the things you'd won, and it's quite an extensive list. You're the only Englishman to win the Premier League title and a Serie A title. Now, Scott McTominay has obviously made the move from Manchester United to Italy, won the Scudetto with Napoli. Are you surprised at how well he's taken to the country, to the league? You've played with him, you understand him, and he's always been top class, but never really probably held in the same esteem as other Manchester United midfielders, but really shining in Italy at the moment.
I think I'm extremely happy for him. He's one of them youngsters that come into the first team when we were there, and you could just see he's just got that hunger, that desire, that belief. He just wants to do well. He wanted to do well from a kid, and when I did see him leave, I was surprised that Manchester United actually did let him leave at that time. I don't think they had many midfielders at the time that were, playing as well as he was doing. And I always knew that if he had a new challenge, if he was going to go to a different country, that it'd be perfect for him. And when he went to, I saw him going to Napoli, and I saw Antonio Conte there. I just knew that the manager would love him because he one of the hardest working players that I've seen and come across, and I am delighted for him that he's gone there and won the league. I wish it was Inter again, but that's where my love is for the club. But like I say, I was surprised to see him leave at that time. But it's fantastic for him to go over there. And I said from my time of playing in Italy, for players, if they get that opportunity to go and play abroad, then definitely do it. Whether obviously I went when I was 34, I think at the time, and he's a lot younger than me. Whether you're younger, whether you're older, if you've got that opportunity to go and play and experience a different league, then definitely.
I really like Ashley Young. I do. He was an interesting player because when we signed him, he wasn't a Galactico signing, so to speak. He was a good player who'd done well at Aston Villa, and we got him for reasonable money, and it was like, okay, we're getting Ashley Young. And even when he was at United, like, he was never a flashy player, but he was incredibly effective, and he was incredibly professional, and he was incredibly consistent, and he was very technical and just a really good footballer, but very unassuming as well. He was a bit like Dennis Irwin. Like, Dennis Irwin was just brilliant, and he just got on with the job, and he was unassuming, and you kind of forgot about him until he didn't play, and then the team was worse. Ashley Young was a little bit like that for United. Like, you kind of took him for granted when he played, but when he didn't play, the team was a bit lopsided, and you just kind of wanted him back in the team, because not only, like, one of the things that he did that was fantastic, he made the team play better, if that makes sense. He just kind of knitted things together. I would put him in a similar bracket, obviously in the different positions, but a similar bracket to, say, Michael Carrick. Like, Michael Carrick wasn't a flashy player by any means, but he just kind of made everything click in his position, in and around his position. And it was the same with Ashley Young as well. And I remember, and you know, even when Fergie wasn't there and Van Gaal was in charge, like, Van Gaal wasn't doing very well. I think at the time he dropped Ashley Young for some stupid reason, and then eventually he had to bring him back in, and then the team started to click and he started to win games again. And it's like, you know, it's not rocket science. You know, you put the right players in the right positions, and then the team starts to do well, strangely. How's that for a philosophy, you know? But yeah, I've always liked Ashley Young, and yeah, I think he would still do a job for Man United now, especially at wing back. You know, he was very tactically and technically astute, and he was a very intelligent footballer, as evidenced by the fact that he went from being a winger to being a wing back to being a fullback. And what is he now? 49 or something. His contract's just finished at Everton, and he's lasted so long playing in the Premier League. I don't know if he's retired or anything. I don't think he's retired, but he seems to be doing. I've got the impression that he's going to be doing the media rounds at the moment. But anyway, his thoughts on Ruben Amorim. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. Ruben Amorim's got his own way of playing that's been well documented, but I don't necessarily see. Okay, let me just rewind a little bit. Ashley Young was asked a question in that interview when they said how many transfer windows would Manchester United need to get them back to challenging for the league, like when Ashley Young was at United, when he first joined United. And he gave the correct answer. And the correct answer was, he doesn't know, basically. That's the proper answer. Because it could take this one window, or it could take 10 windows. You don't know. But he also alluded to the actual issue. And that is, if you target the right players and you buy the right players, it can be done in one window. And so far in this window, we've bought the right kind of player. We've bought an assist and goal machine in Cunha. And we're going to try and do the same thing with Mbeumo. And then after that, I think we're going to try and do the same thing with the number 9 as well. And that's all Manchester United need in this window to get them shooting back up the table. But Ashley Young was very polished with his answer there, and I was very, very impressed. And he hit the nail on the head. It could be one window or 10, but it also depends on how the players are recruited. And it's interesting that he brought up the example of Alex Ferguson, who knew every tiny detail and facet of each individual player that he bought. He knew what their temperament was like. He knew what their upbringing was like. He had a relationship with their their parents, with their family, and all that good stuff. But even then, Fergie got it wrong plenty of times, because for all of the players that he signed that were a success, like Roy Keane, like Wayne Rooney, like Ruud van Nistelrooy, like Ashley Young, like Jaap Stam, all those guys, there were quite a lot of players who weren't a success. I mean, Diego Forlan wasn't a success at Man United, not really, not in the way that they wanted him to be. I mean, I take that back. That's wrong. That is completely wrong. His goals against Chelsea and the Scousers the year that we won the league in 2002, 2003 were worth it. Were worth any money that we invested in that young man at that time. So I take that back. But the point still remains. There were players. David Bellion was another one that just didn't quite work out. Juan Sebastian Veron as well. He didn't quite work out at Manchester United. So even under those circumstances, when you go through the minutiae of each individual player, you still might not get it right. So I suppose it just alludes to the fact that it's really hard to recruit players. But I don't think Alex Ferguson put much clout in Football Manager, because I've said this time and time again, all you need is to have some young nerd who, like me, who likes to play Football Manager, just pay him 30 grand a week, not even that, I'd take 10 grand a week, to sit in an office at Old Trafford just to play Football Manager and to make lists and short lists of all the young players that Manchester United should look into, and then send a scout to each one, give them a full assessment, and then, buy 10 of them. They won't all be a success, but the ones who are will offset the ones who aren't, because we'll get them cheap in the first instance, especially if we buy them all when they're 17 and 18. So, anyway, I digress. But yeah, Marcus Rashford, he definitely needs a change. And same with Sancho as well. And I think Ashley Young sort of hit the nail on the head on that front. I mean, Rashford, he was probably burnt out at Man United. Sancho just doesn't have the attitude. I mean, at least Rashford did have the attitude at Man United at one point. But it just got to, it obviously just got to the point where he couldn't go through another rebuild, especially given his age and especially given, everything that was going on at the club. And I kind of don't blame him for wanting to go, to be honest. It's just one of those things where it's best for all involved for him to just move on. But with Sancho just needs to get out because he hasn't done anything at Man United. And Scotty T, Scotty T would get a game for Ruben Amorim. It's a shame he wasn't there now, and it's just really nice to see how well he's doing over there in Naples and walking about like a movie star, putting the ball in the back of the net and lifting Scudetto titles. But anyway, what do you guys think? Do you agree with Ashley Young? Do you agree with me? Thoughts in the comments, and the Big D will see you as ever in the next one.